your way, and you get more on sports shortly. But for now, we understand the importance of the soil situation in the country, and we quickly get to that conversation, taking stock of what is of the World Soil Day under the theme Caring for Soils, Measure, Monitor and Manage. We have a specialist, an environmentalist, joining us for that conversation, Dr. Daniel Wanjuki of EcoSave Technologies. Senior, thank you so much for creating time. You know, right from childhood, we have talked about soils, or the categories of soils being, you know, loam. Certainly, we do not forget the sandy soil, the clay and loamy and all this. But the question is, do you suppose because of the environmental adjustments due to climate change, you know, global warming, then today we talk of a totally different category of soil?
That's very correct. Thank you, Lydia, for inviting me for this conversation. It is true that we, in our generation, sorry, we have seen the soil that we actually our forefathers depended on deteriorate to a point where nothing can grow without you adding fertilizer. This is an indication that we have a different type of soil. Right. If you think of it, when I was young, you just need to walk out to the compound and you find earthworms. You would find the black ants, the siafu,
right,
you know, and they would actually visit over Christmas. Today, our soil supports no life. And even those millipedes, the earthworms, the black ants are no longer there. What we are left with are a few very resilient insects that now are a problem to us, because whenever you want to do cultivation, you must take care of those few insects that are resistant to the chemicals we have put in the soil. Even the herbicides and the pesticides that we are using, every other time they become, the insects, a few insects become resistant, and we have to carry more chemicals into the farm. And by so doing, we're actually poisoning ourselves.
What do you suppose gets us here? And is there a way we can reverse the situation, or perhaps you say done and dusted, and therefore we must survive and take care of our soils by always adding other additives?
It is possible actually to change the scenario. And this is by giving nature a chance. Okay. When, I don't know at what point we decided that all soils around the world will require a certain fertilizer called maybe the DAP, diammonium phosphate, and NPK. There are about 3 major fertilizers used in the world. But the question is, who said our soils don't have those? Because we might have had enough of microorganisms that would turn waste into nutrients, but we killed those organisms and instead replaced them with inorganic fertilizer. I am, having grown in a very agricultural setup, we rarely used fertilizer. In fact, we have only used fertilizer about 20 years ago. In fact, that's when I started hearing that it requires fertilizer to be able to produce, to get this crop. But since we started using, and it's just a few years, because humanity has been around for so long. Right. But now you actually require those fertilizers to produce even for your own self, not for commercial. An acre of land somewhere in Nyandarua or Laikipia used to produce 30 bags of maize with no much effort. Right. Currently, you can't get 6 bags. If you don't use fertilizer, you won't harvest. Right. And when you go to the land, you're harvesting, and there is no single insect in the environment. It scares me as an environmentalist when you don't have insects that are trying to eat your food. Right. Because if you are the only person on the table, you are eating poison. For you to know that you are actually eating something healthy, you require to see other people also interested in your food. But what is happening currently is that your food, it's only humans who are eating, and no insects want to have partake of that food. That is very scary in an environmental concept, argument. Why would you be the only one eating that food where there are no insects, other organisms interested in having your food?
Okay.
It's scary.
We are talking about a theme that speaks to caring of our soils in the sense of ensure that we put to consideration the measures, monitor, as well as manage. Just what will it take for us to do this? And is there really a need for the same, having gotten to this level?
It is true that for us to say that we are conserving the soil, we must be able to measure. But our farmers, they rarely have that moment where they can submit samples. When you think of it, the whole country has 1 or 2 soil labs. If every farmer sent his, because according to the theme, is measure, monitor, and manage.
Yes.
If you are monitoring, means every year you should set for a sample to be analyzed. A soil sample can be analyzed in a normal lab, school laboratory, a secondary school laboratory can do an assessment. But what we have here is we have some multinationals that are doing the soil analysis, and the information, it's only flowing to the companies that can afford to be doing that. It's quite expensive.
Right.
It's 30,000 to do a thorough test of your land. A farmer may just pick a few sites in his land. But because of the use of fertilizer for a long period of time, there are so many variations within the land that you can actually not make a good decision based on a few samples. So you're actually telling farmers you are on your own, because I would have thought the government would take up the responsibility not to give us fertilizer, but to measure, monitor our soils. That way we'll be able to manage the soils, and we may not actually require the fertilizer. Okay,
so in as much as government is out there to dish fertilizer left, right and center, if they would have focused on measuring and monitoring, perhaps it would have saved us that and more. Allow us to take a quick short break, Senior, and then we come back, round up on this very crucial moment and just get to see solutions as to how we can develop management practices that are, viable and they're good, and then eventually as well, ensure that our crops get the best now that we have 95% food coming from the soil. After this break.